Elvis's Impact on Music, Culture, and Rock and Roll by Dylan Murphy. Elvis in the early beginnings. Elvis had a hard time growing up in Tennessee. Originally from Mississippi, as he got a little bit older, he moved over to Tennessee, and he used to get bullied a lot. He never got a lot of fun from his other classmates. Before 11 years old, he already had a lot of musical influence coming in. His parents already bought him a guitar, so he taught himself how to play guitar. On top of that, he had a lot of experience going into gospel groups and listening to black and blues on the radio with his family. As a kid, he was shy and introverted, which is far from what he was like as an adult. Living on North Green Street, which was considered a colored neighborhood, which is a neighborhood mostly for black people, he got bullied even more because he did not feel like he fit in with the people who lived around him, but the people of the same color would all dishonor him because he lived in that neighborhood. After, as a teenager, he would start to walk around his town and develop his music taste, listening to all the music he would hear in the clubs playing on about near him, because he lived before in a colored neighborhood, so there was a lot of black clubs that were playing blues music, and this is where he got a lot of his taste for music for. His flashy personality didn't start coming out until his later years, though. Elvis, he was very disliked all through schooling until a talent show performance in high school. Nobody realized that he could sing, but he got up there and sung and won the crowd over like he always does. He enjoyed his last couple years of high school as a popular kid, everybody loving him and wanting to sing all the time. Once graduated, he started hanging out in the clubs that he used to listen to, walking down the streets all the time. He would go in and just chill in there just to listen to the music and adapt his music taste. He got a normal job driving supply trucks, but he had a bigger dream in mind. He knew that he was meant for something bigger than just driving around. He went to a local recording studio in Memphis and recorded 2 records. Soon after, Sun Records called, helped produce him a song, and the rest is history. He became a star. Elvis started out as a performer of rockabilly, which is a subgenre which is considered to be close to blues and country, with a little bit of pop and some of them louder instruments like electric guitars and drums. He supported the look of a roughneck truck driver, which means he had his hair slicked back, always wearing leather jackets. He would attend gospel singing sessions that mimic the way they're performing. In these singing sessions, which were gone to by mainly black people, they would see people doing these very scandalous actions and scandalous movements when they're performing, and this is where he got a lot of influence for the way that he moved when he was famous. Soon after, he started wearing the flashy clothing that everybody knew him for, and he started doing all these unique performing styles, which he would get shunned for in his later years. He made songs like Blue Suede Shoes, which would be an early showing of what would soon become rock and roll. Elvis's transition to rock and roll. Elvis would continue to make music under this unnamed genre of a mixture of blues, country, gospel, and pop music. He would draw influence from vast sources like his good friend B.B. King, who he would go to these clubs with. He would record bid songs like the song Hound Dog, which helped rock and roll gain the great name which it has nowadays. Because he was a white man performing a black man's song, he helped a lot of black artists rise to fame after people started accepting that specific type of music. And because of all this, he would earn himself the name of the king of rock and roll. Elvis's influence on rock and roll. He was a main proponent in the publicity to black music. Black music defined as blues slash gospel slash punk with a different taste and a lot of very inappropriate elements to it, which a lot of white men disgrace growing before. He introduced different elements like a loud, energetic voice, fast rhythms, and strong instruments like electric guitars and drums, and or maybe in the blues, harmonicas. He showed people that performance is a key part of the music and not just a submodel. He showed that if people had good performance, they could draw the eyes of anybody. He taught them people to be themselves and not worry about whatever's thing. He did this by wearing the flashy clothes and not letting anybody tell him otherwise. He helped break down the racial barrier in music, helping what was called white music and what was called black music, and blending it all into what is now called just music. And he helped establish the great genre of rock and roll. Elvis' impact on rock and roll afterlife. Elvis influenced many of the popular artists you know and has still influenced people with his music even after life. John Lennon, someone in the Beatles, said that without Elvis Presley, there would never have been a Beatles, because he helped influence those four people and made them come together and make a group which became one of the biggest music groups in music history. He popularized collaborating with artists despite their race, as shown by his great friendship with B.B. King. Elvis influenced big stars to wear their flashy clothing, unfazed by possible backlash, as you could see with these very unique types of clothing that he used to wear in his performances, and mixing the genres of gospel, blues, and pop. Many people try to mimic the sound that Elvis Presley had. And here is a little excerpt of a documentary about Elvis Presley speaking about the influence on music he had. And it goes through showing all the different people who try to mimic Elvis Presley because he played that much of a big role in his life, and had one quote that someone and Elvis Presley were the two main proponents of the 50s who could tell someone to do anything. Other than that was my presentation. This is how Elvis impacted music and culture and rock and roll.